So as we move into question 5, it still looks kind of tricky on what they want us to do here. But again, in a rational expression, if the numerator and denominator have like factors, then those factors can be divided out or canceled. So this requires a little bit of factoring. Notice how again we have some trinomials, and these are general trinomials. When the general trinomials, the factors of the C must add up to the B, as long as the coefficient of x squared was a 1. And since the coefficient of x squared is 1, then all I have to do is focus on the factors of the C, the factors of the constant. They must add up to equal the linear coefficient, the B. So what this is saying for us for the numerator is the factors of that -8 must add up to the -2. So again, you could be doing this in your head, or you could rewrite this down. But again, I have a 1 and an 8, a 2 and a 4. 3 is not working, 4 and a 2. So that's how there's really only two options, 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. But to get a -8, one of the factors has got to be negative. And to get a -2, that's telling me that the bigger factor's got to be negative. So this is telling me that we have to have that. Now, the one that's going to give me the -2 would be the 2 times the -4. So the numerator is going to factor into, again, we're going to set up our two sets of parentheses. There's only one way to get x squared, that's x times x. But notice how we had two options for the -8, but the one that gives us the linear coefficient, the -2, is the 2 and the -4. So the x plus 2 and the x minus 4 becomes our factorization there. Now, the bottom, notice how, again, our leading coefficient is negative. We don't want a negative there, so what we can do is factor a negative out to start with. In doing so, I won't use parentheses, and then inside the parentheses, all of these signs will change. So the -x squared will become a positive x squared. That becomes a positive 8x, and it becomes a positive 12. So then all I have to worry about now is how do we factor x squared plus 8x plus 12? Notice how, again, we're talking about the factors of the C, which is going to be the 12. So the factors of the 12 have to add up to give me an 8. So what you're thinking of, what can you multiply to get a 12, but at the same time has to add up to that 8. So the factors of the C that add up to that B. So we have a 1 and a 12. 2 does work, 2 times 6. 3, no, yeah, actually, 3 times 4, isn't it? 3 times 4 is 12. And then 4 times 3 is also 12. So we have three different pairs. Which one is actually going to give me that 8? It looks like that 2 and 6 is going to be the candidate there. So what we're going to do then is I'm going to rewrite this problem. I'm going to bring the numerator back down, x plus 2 times this x minus 4. I've got this negative out in front, but I'm going to factor this trinomial into two sets of parentheses again. Again, the only way to get that x squared is x times x. But we had three choices for that 12, but the choice that gives me the 8 would be the 2 and the 6. So this becomes a 2. Well, doesn't really matter what order. But yeah, I'll put the 2 there and the 6 there. So what I pick up on then is, do we have any like factors? We do see that they do have the x plus 2 as a factor. So it looks like what I have left then is this x minus 4 on the top, and then there's an negative still left there, x plus 6. Now, typically, instead of putting the negative on the bottom, we usually just put it out in front. So I have a minus then, and then we have this x minus 4 over this x plus 6. And if you want, you could bring the negative through the top if you want. So you could also write that as negative x plus 4 over x plus 6. I usually like to just keep the negative out in front like that. This would be the one I would prefer. So see where that takes you in your assignment there, question 5.